I do want to take you right back out live to the shot that we have out of Tel Aviv as thousands upon thousands of people are gathered there holding signs of their loved ones, the hostages who are still being held in captivity, an estimated 48 of them that are expected to be returned by Monday morning. That is under the terms of that ceasefire deal brokered by President Donald Trump and the U.S. Now, that ceasefire going into effect on Friday morning, meaning that 72-hour deadline to release the hostages is Monday morning. Everything appears to be in place for that to officially happen here. What I do want to pop up is some of the video that's actually just coming in from the Israel Defense Forces of Jared Kushner and Steve Witkoff, the Middle East envoy, both there speaking with troops. They have been in Israel for the past several days, and we are potentially expecting remarks from them a bit later on today, but we'll, of course, bring those to you if and when we do get those. Right now, I do want to bring in a guest to talk a little bit more about the ceasefire itself and what happens next. We do have Shosh Bedrosian, the spokeswoman in the office of Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, joining us now. Thank you so much for taking the time to be here with us today.
Thanks so much for having me, Josh.
Of course. And first off, the big question I do want to ask you overall is, what have we seen on the Israel side happen since that ceasefire officially went into effect on Friday morning?
Right. So following the approval by the Israeli government on the framework to release all of our hostages, the IDF actually began redeploying back to those yellow lines you probably have seen on maps that were distributed. Currently, we're in this 72-hour window where we are expecting all 48 of our hostages to be returning home, a momentous moment in time that we are here. Prime Minister Netanyahu has worked extremely hard to get here, to close this circle for so many families who have been waiting for their loved ones to come back, to be reunited, and also just for a dignified, proper burial for so many families to actually have to close this horrific circle. I want to say that Prime Minister Netanyahu actually visited one of the main hospitals just before Shabbat, Friday night, here in Israel, to see the preparations that are currently in the works for these hostages, where they will be receiving some of these hostages. We know that some of the main hospitals already have their procedures in place. He was able to tour some of the rooms where some of these living hostages will be staying in addition to their families. So we know that he was at Sheba Hospital before Shabbat. He examined these preparations. There are teams of medical experts waiting for them. All of Israel is just waiting and ready to receive all of our hostages, Josh.
And one thing that's interesting is a lot of people have said, well, we have seen ceasefire deals that have almost been approved and gone through here several different times over the last 2 years. What is it that makes this one feel different and just makes it different in general?
I think that's a very good question. I'll tell you why. Hamas has finally agreed to release all of our hostages at one time, not in any piecemeal phase situation, not 10 hostages here, 5 hostages here, deceased hostages, then living hostages. This is a one-time phase to get all of our 48 hostages out, whether they are alive, whether they are deceased, and that's where we're at. And Israel is waiting for them to come home. But with the diplomatic and the military pressure that Prime Minister Netanyahu put on the terror organization, forced them, it squeezed them to come back to the table, in addition to all of the exceptional help from President Trump to get us to this point in time. This is why this deal, this plan is different than anything else we've ever seen, because all of our hostages are expected to come back in phase 1 of this deal. Like I said, the diplomatic, the military pressure that Prime Minister Netanyahu took to get to this point of time were extraordinary. These achievements he was able to obtain and work so diligently at. This is why we are here. And this is why, Josh, so many families are optimistic to finally close this horrific 2-year circle and get back to living life the way they're supposed to here in Israel.
How significant is it that President Trump is visiting that region? He's going to be over in Israel, and it appears is going to speak to the Knesset there on Monday. So how significant is that move, and what does that say about the relationship there that Netanyahu and Trump do have?
Sure. Well, Prime Minister Netanyahu and President Trump have an incredible relationship. It's a relationship that works in coordination with each other. It's a relationship that clearly got us to this point where not only all of our 48 hostages will be coming home, but praying and hoping that we can achieve peace in the Middle East. President Trump has really helped us cross this hurdle where Hamas has been the ultimate obstacle to getting us to this point in time. With his pressure, in addition to Prime Minister Netanyahu's pressure militarily, specifically in Gaza City, we are at this point in time. And actually, Prime Minister Netanyahu invited President Trump to speak with Israeli parliament, the Knesset, after they had a phone call once this framework was officially approved on all sides by all parties just the other day. They had a very warm and emotional conversation, congratulating each other on this incredible accomplishment to free all of our living hostages and our deceased hostages in the first phase of this. So, of course, this relationship is pretty much like no other relationship the United States and Israel has ever had before. The Prime Minister consistently says that the United States is one of our greatest allies, in addition to President Trump. Look at what we have been able to achieve together. And the Prime Minister makes that very, very clear. And he also thanks President Trump for his global leadership consistently, especially here in the Middle East, and all of the efforts President Trump is working towards to create peace in this part of the world.
And you kind of already touched on this, but can you break down what the feeling is like, the atmosphere right there in Israel right now, across Israel, that's maybe different from what we've seen in the past 2 years?
Sure. So it was Shabbat. Shabbat officially ended here in Israel just an hour or so ago. And for the last 2 years, nearly every woman that I know that's Jewish that lights Shabbat candles said to each other, whether it was on social media or to a friend or to a family member Friday night as they were lighting candles, may this be the last time we have to light candles while our hostages are in Israel. There is extraordinary optimism from the families, from the supporters, from people who just have a conscience of feeling the empathy and having the emotions for what is taking place here. It is extremely, it's raw for Israelis, it's raw for Jews around the world. I mentioned this before, closing a 2-year circle of extraordinary pain, heartbreak, and words really don't even describe. This is the moment that we are currently in to get all of our people out. And I want to just make this clear to your viewers. Can you imagine Americans being taken hostage by a terror organization? Israelis have been living with this every single day for 2 years, living in the depths of hell, in darkness, in tunnels, by a terror organization, being starved, abused, and tortured. To know that these hostages will be coming out, it's been in the back of our minds every single day that we live here in Israel.
And my last question for you here, this is one that's also been asked a lot. Do you see this? Does Netanyahu see this as an end to the war overall? Because we're talking about phase 1 of the deal that does have other phases, or is this just, I guess, a step to ending the war?
No, of course, this is a plan to create peace in the Middle East. The first phase is to get all of our 48 hostages out, living and deceased, out of Hamas captivity, out of terror organizations' captivity. Phase 2 of this is to ensure that Hamas is demilitarized and Hamas has no part of governing the Palestinian people in the future, making sure that Gaza never poses a threat to the state of Israel ever again. Taking a step like that will create peace in the Middle East. To get a terror organization out of Gaza, who has created extreme harm just for their own people, the Palestinian people, and of course the state of Israel, and making sure that this peace is everlasting with President Trump. Like I said, this incredible partnership the Prime Minister and President Trump have together to ensure that getting our hostages out and making sure that Hamas is never in Gaza, they're demilitarized, and that Gaza never poses a threat to the state of Israel ever again will be steps to create peace in the Middle East here, Josh.
Shosh, thank you so much for taking the time to join us and provide some perspective, of course, as a spokesperson for the office of Prime Minister Netanyahu. Anything we missed, anything you want to make sure to add here before I let you go?
I just want everyone listening right now to think about all of the families who are waiting for their loved ones to come home. We're in this 72-hour window right now where they will be released, all 48 of our hostages, these innocent people who were so brutally taken on October 7th when Hamas decided to launch this grotesque and disgusting war. And this is where we are now. Prime Minister Netanyahu has made it his mission, a personal mission, to make sure all of our hostages are returned home at one time. Even when people doubted the prime minister, Josh, he took steps. And he said he is committed. He made a promise to bring back our hostages. And here we are now. It is because of his strength. It is because of all of the pressure he has put on Hamas, in addition to President Trump, to get the terror group to come back to this place, to finally accept the first phase of this plan that we're in right now. Josh.
Shosh Bedrosian, thank you so much for taking the time to be here with us. We definitely appreciate it.
Thank you.